The secret war to kill the US dollar. Your mortgage rate is about to jump. Your car payment is about to spike. Your groceries are about to get more expensive. And the reason is happening right now in boardrooms across China, Russia, and the Middle East. They're quietly replacing the US dollar with their own currencies. China and Russia just completed a massive oil deal, paid entirely in yuan and rubles. India bought Russian crude with rupees. Brazil and China are trading in their own currencies. 1/5 of global oil transactions now happen without a single dollar changing hands. For 50 years, the world needed dollars to buy oil, to trade internationally, to store wealth. This gave America a huge advantage. Economists call it exorbitant privilege. It meant America could print money, spend more than it earned, and borrow cheaply. Other countries paid the price. When that privilege disappears, inflation that was exported abroad comes rushing back home. Everything gets more expensive. This is the secret economic war reshaping global finance, and most Americans have no idea it's happening. The turning point and the players. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Within days, the US and European allies unleashed the most aggressive financial sanctions in history. Large vault labeled Russia, encased in ice, red danger accent. Money Russia had stored in Western banks as a safety net. Russian banks got kicked off SWIFT, the messaging system that enables international wire transfers. Oligarchs had yachts seized. Credit cards declined. Russia's frozen reserves shocked every country in the world. This wasn't just theory anymore. This was real. $300 billion just disappeared. And every other country realized the US could do this to us too. But here's what really scared other countries. It wasn't just that Russia lost money. It was what this revealed about the system itself. China saw it. India saw it. Saudi Arabia saw it. Brazil saw it. If geopolitical tensions ever escalated with the US, their reserves could vanish overnight. The dollar wasn't just a currency anymore. It was a weapon, and that weapon could be pointed at anyone. China responded first and most aggressively, and what they did next would become the blueprint for every other country. By the end of 2023, roughly 90% of trade between Russia and China was settled in yuan and rubles. $240 billion in annual trade volume never touched the US financial system. But more importantly, they proved something. You don't actually need the dollar to do international trade. The model spread fast. India became one of Russia's largest oil customers within months, paying in rupees. By mid-2023, the pattern was clear. Sanction a country, watch it build alternatives. See those originally just Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The group added Saudi Arabia, Iran, the UAE, Egypt, and Ethiopia in 2024. This wasn't a random collection of countries. This was a coordinated effort. Nations that produce huge shares of oil, gas, and critical minerals. Saudi Arabia joining was especially significant. The country that anchored the petrodollar system was now exploring alternatives to it. Let me be clear about what just happened. The countries that produce the world's energy just coordinated to stop using dollars. That's not a coincidence. That's strategic. And here's what should scare you. They aren't just talking about alternatives anymore. They're building them, and they're moving fast. These countries started building infrastructure to trade without dollars. BRICS Pay, a payment system that settles transactions in local currencies. The New Development Bank, an alternative to the IMF and World Bank, issuing loans in non-dollar currencies. Bilateral currency swap agreements. In March 2024, they proposed BRICS Bridge, a new system using blockchain technology, connecting digital currencies from each BRICS country, letting them trade without using the dollar. At the same time, central banks started buying gold at record levels, the highest in decades. They were hedging against the dollar, building reserves the US couldn't freeze. It doesn't require SWIFT access. It just sits in a vault, holding value. By 2024, the data was undeniable. 1/5 of global oil trades were in non-dollar currencies. That number had been close to zero just years earlier. The dollar's share as global reserves fell to around 58%. It was still dominant, but the trend was clear and accelerating. And if you want to understand what comes next and how to prepare for it, you need to understand how this actually works. The mechanics of de-dollarization. When that transition accelerates, the consequences come home. When the dollar finally loses its reserve status. But this isn't happening overnight. It's happening right now, in real time. Through specific systems and strategies countries are building. And once you see how it works, The speed makes sense. So how do you actually replace the dollar? You can't just decide to stop using it. You have to build alternatives that handle global trade. The simplest method is bilateral currency swaps. Two countries trade in their own currencies. No dollars involved. China and Brazil did this in 2023. Exporters get paid in their home currency. Central banks handle the exchange and settlement. It cuts out the U.S. banking system and lowers transaction costs. Then there's the New Development Bank, created by BRICS in 2015. It issues loans in local currencies, not in dollars. This breaks the need to earn dollars to repay debt. That's critical. China is also pushing the digital yuan. It's used for cross-border payments, settling instantly without traditional banks. China is testing this across Asia and Africa, faster and cheaper than SWIFT. There's also talk of a BRICS currency, backed by commodities, gold, oil, rare earths. Still just a discussion, but the discussion itself matters. Now you might ask, why hasn't this already happened? Because there's a massive obstacle, a network effect. Everyone uses dollars because everyone uses dollars. Contracts are in dollars. Oil is priced in dollars. Reserves are held in dollars. You can't flip the switch without crashing the economy. That's why about 60% of reserves are still dollars. Countries are diversifying slow, not dumping dollars all at once. What changed is speed. After Russia's sanctions, plans accelerated. Systems moved from talk to live. Fence-sitters picked a side, so the transition is gradual, but accelerating. Slow enough to avoid collapse. Fast enough that decades became years. And when it fully accelerates, the consequences come home. To you. To your future. What this means for you. It means the bill comes due. For 50 years, Americans have been living on borrowed time. Printing money. Running deficits. Exporting the pain to the rest of the world. But when that privilege disappears, when the dollar loses reserve status, all that inflation comes rushing back home. Prices on imports rise. Interest rates on government debt increase, which means higher mortgage rates, higher car loans, higher credit card rates. The cheap borrowing America enjoyed ends. That's the bill coming due. And the countries that see it coming are already preparing. They're building alternatives. They're diversifying reserves. They're moving fast. The question is, are you? What do you think happens first? Does the dollar lose reserve status? Or do countries back off? Drop your prediction in the comments. If you want to understand how global finance actually works and what's coming next, subscribe for more explanations that cut through the noise.